Hello and welcome to another episode of Comprehending Consciousness. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks, and this series itself is dedicated to people who are newly waking up. I create these quick, hopefully quick. If you're not new here, you know I can be long-winded, so my quick is not always everybody else's. However, this is my attempt at quicker, short form, sort of informational videos that just target one topic or phrase that is well known and really a broad idea, or even many different ideas, right, in the conscious communities. And it's sort of trickling down into the mainstream. And a lot of times what happens with that is the superficialities really get picked up on. The glittery nice parts, everybody wants, those get highlighted, and we kind of forget about the underbelly of, where the guts are at of things. So these episodes are my offering of sort of looking at the whole full spectrum of the phrase, and usually clearing some ground around misconceptions, sort of, shaking off the pieces that I don't feel really align with the bigger picture, and sharing them, and then also offering resources, tips, ways for you to go back later on your own and do your own deep dive. If you are new here, then you should know that I usually reference these phrases like iceberg terms, and I think that's such a great visualization, and so I continue to come back to it all the time. So this video is my little tour of the iceberg, the tip, what I see and what I've discovered here. And off to the side is your own diving gear. It's your chance to later on, when you're away from the internet, you can do some meditation or even just do introspective, ruminations on your own about these kind of things. And perhaps, dig into resources and spend time actually learning about it as well. So that's my little beginning. In today's topic, episode 36, I am going to be talking about service and intention. Service in itself really means intention to me, and to many of us, and but I thought it was important to be clear and to have both of those words there, because they might mean different things to different people, especially if you're newly waking up. And so I thought 36, I turned 36 this year, and so what a better way for episode to sort of have a real life parallels, but then to bring it back to the very, very basic and to what I feel is foundational in waking up and in soul evolution, ascension, whatever you want to look at that kind of quest as, right? And that is service and intention. So if you are brand new to that, and you might think service is super base level of just like doing things for other people, or like doing something in the physical world, and yes, that's a portion of it, but there's a giant pie here, and it's my hope that we can sort of get over that thin crust that 3D really puts on the word service, and kind of dive into what is underneath there. And when you do that, and when you look at it, you'll see that intentions is what is really kind of the what gives it momentum, where the flow comes from. The movement happens through intention. And so quickly, just as a reference point for anybody, intention, what does that really mean, right? Well, it is the energetics or the frequency, the vibe, the feeling of your motivation, of your energy body, of your thoughts and your heart and your body, all of it in conjunction, working together to make some sort of output. And that is multifaceted, multi-layered, multidimensional. Intention is not just I do it. And anybody who really has ever been involved with another person, they might have a sort of a reference points, to understanding how we don't always know what inner intentions lie within people, and how good or bad some people can be at hiding their intentions, and how deep that hiding really goes. Because when we look and notice and we start thinking and talking about intention, very quickly we can become offended or defensive within ourselves, because we know how many things within ourselves we hide from ourselves, right? And maybe if you haven't done, and you don't do any light and shadow work, or you haven't done any in a while, or whatever the case might be, right? You can have a really warped and distorted filter happening. And so maybe you're not even clear of your own intentions. Things like self-sabotage, right? Why did I do that to myself? Or bad habits that all of a sudden you just find yourself in and you're doing again. And you're like, oh, I thought I was going to give this up. Why am I doing this? Right? These kinds of things showcase to us, not that we're bad people, not that, we're under mind control from the matrix and there's no help for us, or we're victims, or that, oh, these people made us this way and there's no way out of it. No, it's a showcasing, it's a waving of the flag from your shadow to say, hey, we have some processing to look at. We have a lot of junk here to sort through. And if you start to do that work, then you'll see more clarity, in understanding your own intentions. You'll feel less fear about doing that kind of introspective work, because you won't be worrisome of what you're going to uncover, and you won't worry about tripping over your own little lies and things that you've disguised, inside of yourself, to kind of forget about or turn a blind eye to. We all do that kind of stuff. It isn't that because you're doing that kind of stuff, now you're a bad person. Now you're in a negative person and you're evil or bad. Quote unquote service to self, the negative polarity, right? And this is where the other level to understanding what intention means and what service is, because they sit on a spectrum, right? Like, I hope everybody's familiar with the spectrum, but sort of like black over here, white over here, and a gradient of shading in between, right? Service sits on that same spectrum, and we have service to others and we have service to self. And what does that really mean? Because let's not get caught up in that little 3D thin ice layer that I talked about people being confused about what the word service means, right? It doesn't mean strictly, it's a tiny slice of the pie, this doing something for other people, the action of offering others, giving physically to someone, doing something for them. That version of service, yes, it is there, it's involved, but it's a tiny slice. The rest of the pie has to do with energetics and your intention, right? How you are communicating and what kind of energetic service you are offering out into our etheric kind of the soup of the universe that we sit within, right? Because it is alive, it is intelligent, it is constantly listening to that frequencies that you're putting out, which is intention, which is a 24/7, 365, all-encompassing, never-ending teredo of energy that's around us at all times, right? There's no two ways about it anymore. There's way too much, even in the mainstream of quote-unquote scientific evidence, that showcases and proves, people have to have that proof, and evidence to hold in their hands, right? But it's there, bodies and bodies of it. So if that's what you're seeking as external confirmation to really put a gold sticker on your ideas, it's there if you choose to look for it. There's tons of science showcasing energies that we give off, and from everything from, say, something like the heart, EKGs, EEGs, we have the brain, we have CAT scans, we have all of these things that show that we're measuring electricity and energy functioning within the body and in and outside of the body, and interacting with the universe around us. And so that energetics of what your vibe is, of where your polarity sits, what your charge is really totally the reflection of what kind of service and intention you have on the what kind of service intention you hold. I was going to say on the inside, and it is true. It starts in the inner world, but you can't lie energetics. You can't lie intention. You can lie about it and distort it and create these disharmonious frequencies in your vibe and within the every ether around you when you try to distort what kind of intentions is flowing through you. And but you can't lie them. You can't ever change them from the outside in. This is the thing. It's an inner thing. And when you do inner work and when you do light and shadow work and you serve yourself in there as your higher self, your inner child, all of those shadow pieces and portions of you, these different personas and personalities that you picked up over the years, and maybe you've discarded some of them, and maybe they're stuck back there really hurt still about X, Y, and Z that happened to them. You have to take the time to go in there and do all that work for them and for yourself. Because when you do that, then your intentions become more clear. Then you can really understand, and you're not self-sabotaging. You're not lying to yourself anymore. There's less of that disharmonious frequencies being put out from the logical mind's, speaker, and from like the hormones and the mental, the molecular sort of interactions that happen. Those will be more coherent and, more harmonious to your true self when you get in there and do that work, when you think about your intentions and go and heal, all of those things within you that need to be healed. We all have them, different amounts in different ways and sizes and for different reasons, but that's why we're the master. We have our own key. We're the master of our domain, our inner self. We are the savior of our inner workings. All of those personalities that are hoarded in there, all of those shadows, problems, skeletons in your closet kind of thing. People like to have that reference. Trapped energy stored in places. You can visualize it like that as blocks, and you can work to move it through you. And that's a wonderful service to the self as well. Now, service to the self, as in seeing yourself as many others in there. And so you're serving the great other and source. All of those things become linked together when you think of yourself in third person, right? When you can step outside of yourself kind of and understand, maybe you have an inner child, you have kind of like maybe you want to look at an ego or a bossy person in there. Maybe, you have to see a higher self and somebody who's very connected and is like what you envision, yourself your best self to be. You see that, all of that external visualization of the self is empathizing, right? It's practice of empathizing with others. And so you've created the great other within yourself, and you're doing service to source, the infinite creator, God, whatever you like to look at that as, the logos. You're serving that great purpose while you're doing that, because you're serving the other inside of you. This is why intentions can get really wonky and people can get very confused about calling it service to self or service to others, because they will see anytime you do loving care for yourself that it's self-centered and that it's service to self. But that's not the case whatsoever. The service to self, negative alignment, is a different intention in there. The intention of doing something for yourself is you don't go at these inner personalities as others who you love and care about, and you want to heal and help move forward. You want to listen to what's wrong with them, hear what they need, and help them get it. It doesn't have that vibe. The intention is a dominating one. The intention is restricting. You might even just tell them all to shut up, go away. We're doing this now. You're weak. We need to be strong. We need more. Don't bother with that. Shut it out. Cut it off. Or you might even spend a lot of self-criticism time in there. Why are you this way? You're terrible. Like a lot of negative inside self-talk. That is very harmful. That's service in the self. That is a negative alignment and orientation of your intentions. You're doing harm to yourself by having that intention of interactions in there. Another kind of thing to think about with alignment to service to self in the negative aspect is what I am doing or wanting at the expense of any other life or any other piece of the pie. Because yes, if it's at the expense of a literal other out there, if you're harming others in order to keep yourself safe, or you're taking from others in order to make sure you have enough, or you don't even care about the consequences of retribution that others might be facing because of your actions. If your intention is just me focused on getting what I need, filling the void, filling the hole, getting what I need, that is service to self. That is a negative alignment. And it doesn't matter the way that you showcase it, the way that you might be a wolf in sheep's clothing out in the external and fooling others out there, your intention inside there is still negative, and your intentions will bring you negative back, And so you can never do anything good for yourself. You can never do any kind of self-care and literally be in the service to self negative alignment if you're always coming from this place of caring for yourself. If you have connection to your sovereign worth and your purpose, if you see yourself as a worthy individual, just as every other life is a worthy individual. If you have that mind frame, if you're coming at it from that intention, can never be negatively oriented. And it can never be that, what we call service to self, self-centered kind of thinking. The distortions that happen between our definitions and how we describe things, and also how we're interpreting other people's actions, right? Because for us in this realm, we've kind of handicapped ourselves in planet Earth. We can't really truly feel and sense and listen to that energetic conversation that's always happening. It's something that right now and even previously we've maybe used machinery to sort of pick up and to get that external validation that people really need to believe that it's happening. Maybe in the past, in ancient times, it was different, and there's plenty of, if you like that idea and you want to learn more about that, there's plenty of resources out there too that talk about a lot of the possibilities of what that did look like or could have looked like, and all the potentials that come with it. And then, of course, also the reasoning behind perhaps why it was squashed and ruined, and what the controlling mechanisms doing the squashing and now kind of allowing this open-air prison of human farming thing to happen here on Earth. That's been happening a couple hundred years now, at least, right? So if that's what you're looking for, definitely, I won't get into it now because I've already talked too long. I really love to keep these episodes under 20 minutes, and now I'm at 18. So I perhaps will do deeper dives, and I have I talk about this all the time. I'll link some podcasts and other videos that I've done more about orientation, about service and polarity and stuff like that. So if this is interesting to you and you say, hey, wait, I never thought of it that way. I hear a lot of people say be of service to others, but I don't really get what they're talking about, or I hear people talking about service to others, service to self, and I'm getting really confused because they seem like the same thing, and or maybe you've been really wrapped up in this straightforward service is just this kind of 3D interactions of actually doing things for people, and then you think, see, I know I'm going to get, I forgot to kind of get into the false parameters put on the service to others self side of the spectrum as well. And when we think about service to others, a lot of times people think about doormats, people who just enable everybody, people who just do things and never get anything back, and being taken advantage of, being used, trying to fill from an empty cup kind of. They put this immediate idea of, oh, well, if I just give everything away, I have nothing for me. Oh, if I just do everything for everybody, how will I ever get anything for me? And they'll pick a lot of holes in that, and then they'll just say, oh, I don't like the whole idea of service. This is nonsense, And that in itself, there's so much work to be talked about, and I do a lot of this. When I talk about systems, I'll put I'm going to do a whole new video, more of a general breakdown on systems, but I have a couple of videos already that are walkthroughs. They're in depth, but I will share those in links or comments below. If this is BitChute, they'll probably be in comments um, on that, because it's such a huge topic. But when we understand how systems function, and we understand that we have positive systems or negative systems, and they follow a certain set of directions because they follow these same truths, these same laws that say what reality functions around. They each have slightly different ones, and they're each pushing promoted structures to in alignment with the intentions, right, and with the service. And right now, of course, we see huge negative structures everywhere. Everything is restrictive. Everything's impending, infringing, creeping in, forcing, mandates and all these kind of, you have to walk in this way. There's a bunch of just cookie cutters out there telling you have to fit into one shape or another. And that's it's super negative in polarity. We have positive polarity or service to others, which would never have a cookie cutter out. We would be allowing them to mold and take shape as they're, cooking and growing, and allow them to become whatever shape they want to, because we would know and understand, and our truths say that each one grows as it should in its divine purpose, because it is a fractal source of God or source. It's a reflection containing the whole. If you're not familiar with fractals, I highly suggest learning about them. They're amazing. And they speak volumes to the setup of how we are all interconnected, and what we are one really kind of means. So yeah, I highly suggest checking out Fractals. Mandelbrot set, if you have the time, is really cool. And so yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'll have a bunch of links below for anything if people are intrigued and they'd like to learn more or hear more. I'd love to hear your comments. Feel free to leave comments or send me email directly. My email's always in the description. Thanks for checking out this episode of Comprehending Consciousness. In the meantime, you can always find me directly on amariespeaks.com or on Telegram, AMarieSpeaks. I do daily positivity tips and infographics, and I drop links to all my videos, blogs, podcasts, all types of stuff from different platforms. It's all linked on Telegram. So if you want to keep up with me, that's the best place. Thank you so much for watching this video, for taking the time out to do wonderful service for all of us. Thank you for your beautiful service to the collective. Thank you for witnessing mine, and I hope you will tune in next time.